In this video, we're going to take this crusty old core support and make it shine. As you can see, this core support is completely rotted out. The only thing that's holding it on was the fenders. Both of the inner pillars are rotted out. So our first step is going to be to disconnect everything and get it off the truck and onto some sawhorses. So our next step is going to be to get this all cleaned up. I'm going to get the steel brush and get all this loose debris off. Using the steel brush, we're going to remove all the debris and chipping paint, get it ready for the next process. Now we're going to mark out our cut lines on where we want to cut out the rust and put in new material. Now we have this piece cut out, we can see that there's a lot more rot down there and a lot more cutting to do. We're going to have to put a new piece of plate on the back end. I have this piece left over from redoing my truck bed. I'll use this. It'll be plenty strong enough. I also have a piece of 1/8 inch angle iron that from my scrap pile. I might use that to rebuild this surface here. Using tack welds and rosette welds, I want to make sure not to burn through this thin material. So you can see I got everything welded in place, and then I'll get another piece and cap off the top. Most of this material I'm using is 16 gauge, so it's plenty strong enough to rebuild these columns. I would also like to note that I used weld-through primer on everything, try to prevent it from rusting later on. I used 1/8 inch flat stock plate on the side. The base wasn't quite as rotted out, just to add a little bit more support. I used the original piece to line up the new mounting hole. And then lastly, I cap off the top with 16 gauge material. Do some rosette welds and some spot welds. Again, not to burn through the material. Again, here I'm using the leftover plate from the bed floor. I used a hammer to pound it out flat. This is 16 gauge material, so it's plenty strong enough. All this material I'm adding is actually bigger than the stock material and should be stronger than it originally was. A nice view of what's left of the original bushing. So now we have everything ground down, welded in, and we put some rust neutralizer on it. That's the first step in prepping it for paint. This is the rust neutralizer I like to use. You can paint right over the top of it. The next step, I like to use this heavy rust primer as my base before I paint. It does a good job of neutralizing rust as well and encapsulating it. This is the product I use. In our final steps, since this is an interior part that nobody's ever going to see, it's just for structure, we're going to use this undercoating spray to paint the whole part with. Now we have the whole part in primer, and we'll go ahead and do the undercoating on the rest of the part, and we'll see how it turns out. And this is our final result. Everything's all nice, painted, coated, shouldn't rust anymore. I think structurally it's more better than it was originally. And now you can see these repaired pillars. They look good and strong. I didn't get it on film, but I did paint the top of the core support blue. I just had some blue paint laying around, and I figured it looked better than just leaving it the black, because it turns kind of a chalky black after you use it with the undercoating. Thank you for watching this video, and if you liked it,
like and subscribe.